Hello everyone, welcome to Rockshire Gaming. My name is Eric. Today's video we are going to be taking a look and discussing this game here, Marvel United, but not this game, the boxes that are in front of me today. We're going to be taking a look ahead at the newest announced Kickstarter upcoming for Marvel United, subtitled Multiverse. It's looking like it's going to be coming out or not coming out, but the Kickstarter is going to be coming out sometime either this month in January or probably in February of 2023. But I thought it'd be a cool opportunity to kind of look at the game, and based on the little information that we have, as well as the large catalog of potential that this game has, and kind of look at thoughts, predictions, concerns, and whatnot for this new Kickstarter coming out. So, yeah, if you'll join me, we'll go ahead and get started with that. First of all, if you do not know what Marvel United is, it is a cooperative game from CMON, where you take on the role of a Marvel hero. You and up to 3 other characters, 4 players in total, take on either the role of an Avengers character if you have just the base game, or X-Men characters from the second Kickstarter. The X-Men also introduced the concept of supervillain mode, where you can actually take on the role of a supervillain, and there's other game modes as well that increase the player count from 4 for the heroes, and also, like I said, add in that villain mode. But normally you're playing the villain as an AI. Multiverse is their new Kickstarter that was just announced. It is going to incorporate a lot of different timelines and alternate realities from Marvel as a whole. So far, there's a lot of aspects that look like they're going to be heavily, at first, at least in the core box, looking at the MCU for inspiration from recent movies, as well as taking from various comic book sources. So let's kind of dive into what we know about the game so far. First, Multiverse. We already established that. The trailer shows a few of the characters that are going to be in the game, starting right off with Immortus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It doesn't sound like I am, but I probably am. He is a character who, I believe in the comics, is a future version of Kang the Conqueror, who Kang, first of all, is making his appearance in, already made it in the Loki TV series on Disney Plus, as well as he's going to be a central character in the new Ant-Man and Wasp movie. Kang, as far as Marvel United goes, was snuck into the Kickstarter stretch goal box from the first campaign. It wasn't in the original campaign anywhere, I believe, and I think he was added along with the villain Venom character later on, sometime before launch during the Wave 1 shipping. The trailer also showed that we are getting Cosmic Ghost Rider, so technically we still don't even have the original Ghost Rider in the game, Johnny Blaze, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit more later in the video. We also saw images of Captain Carter from seemingly from Multiverse of Madness and the Disney Plus What If series. We got a female Black Panther sculpt that, from later artwork, we definitely know is Black Panther and not another character. That most likely is Shuri. We also got a new Loki figure that, though the image is gray, they didn't have the usual blue, purple, or red plastic. A lot of people are speculating that it's probably the hero Loki that was heavily asked for during the first Marvel United campaign, and also asked for during the second campaign when anti-heroes were introduced. The final figure that was shown during the trailer was a silhouette of most likely Galactus. If anybody saw the Marvel Zombies Kickstarter that CMON also did, you know that there is a Galactus coming for that game when it's released later on this year. Some people are already getting their core sets from the 2-wave shipping, but later on this year, probably towards summer or Q3, is when it's coming out. I personally, for transparency, did not get the Galactus. I did do the pledges and everything for Marvel Zombies, but I did not get the Galactus. friend of mine does have that on the way, so we will be showing that off here on the channel. I'm assuming that a chibi style Galactus figure from Marvel United is not going to be as big as that 2-foot monstrosity, but you never know. So that was what was revealed in the trailer for Marvel United Multiverse. We also have on, if you look at the Kickstarter launch page, where like the placeholder page, there is artwork on there. Additional characters that were shown in full color were Ironheart and a new Spider-Man 2099. The other images that came out since then, CMON on their Twitter and Facebook pages have been doing, who's that Pokemon style shots of just showing a small portion of a figure and then blowing up to show the full figure a couple days later or a day or so later. And so far, as of the filming of this episode on January 1st, 2023, they have revealed the Cosmic Ghost Rider that we already knew about as a anti-hero, and they revealed Mighty Thor, the Jane Foster Thor from the Thor comics of the later 2010s, and the new Thor Love and Thunder movie. So that is all the figures that we know, all the characters that we know are coming out in this game so far. But let's kind of take a look at what the concept of multiverse is. I'm looking more of this not as much from gameplay, because truth be told, I haven't actually even gone through all the content for Marvel United. I've owned Marvel United 1 since the original Kickstarter released in 2021, and I actually was fortunate enough, I know some people are still, as of this video, may have just gotten their all-in pledges for Marvel United X-Men because of shipping issues. I've had mine since March of 2022, March or April, whenever it was released. And I still haven't even gone through all the content for various reasons. So I myself am not the best expert on the various gameplay modes. I know of the various gameplay modes, but the different villains, especially the Kickstarter stretch goal boxes, I'm not fully caught up with those. But so we're not going to necessarily like gameplay in this video, more looking at characters from the Marvel Multiverse and what could potentially be there and what is already here from the multiverse. There is a lot of multiverse characters or multiverse adjacent characters already in the game. We can assume some things. We have the Spider-Man box right here. I'll make some room for it, but we have the Enter the Spider-Verse box right here. There is a new Spider-Verse movie coming out from Marvel and Sony. So this one I'm not in any gripes over with the content of that we're going to get a Spider-Verse box. It's almost guaranteed that we're probably going to get one with new versions of Spider-Man, like Spider-Man Noir, and others from the first and second movie. So we know we're getting that, but when you're looking at the Ultimates, getting ahead of myself, when we are looking at various multiverses, there's a couple very famous and long-running multiverse stories that have come out that it may or may not be hard to do with this game, especially if you are trying to avoid the Wolverine problem or the main problem from the X-Men Kickstarter, where you don't necessarily, and I don't know fully what CMON's planning at all. When I say fully, I don't have no idea whatsoever. But I would assume that they're going to attempt to avoid as much duplication as they possibly can, even looking at the first Kickstarter. We're already getting, essentially with Captain Carter, a new version of Captain America. With Mighty Thor, we're getting an alternate Thor figure. Ironheart is essentially an alternate Iron Man. So we're already, even in the core box, getting figures that, worryingly, are very similar to other characters we already have in the game. Though there are some differences, we already, even in this box right here, the Kickstarter exclusive, have 4 different Spider characters. Plus, in the first Kickstarter stretch goal box, we have a Spider-Man 2099, more from like the 2000s Spider-Man comics. But we are also, from the artwork, getting a more 90s Spider-Man 99 or 2099 figure in there. So we're gonna have 2 of that exact character in the game. So that is one worry with this entire Kickstarter is how many characters, especially when we have characters that from the original Kickstarters that some consider missing, that we don't have. And also, again, when you look at announced figures, we have a female Black Panther character, which essentially is Shuri in the game. But even right here, probably the least well received box in the original Kickstarter with the Rise of the Black Panther, we technically already have a Black Panther and a Shuri figure in the game. So now we're having a duplicate kind of combined figure. Now, if it combines features of the characters in this box and or comes up with something new, then that's great. But again, we're already having characters again that we're duplicating. Again, you're going to with a multiverse box, but again, we're going to have some duplicate characters. And again, this is not supposed to be a like a here's a bunch of gripes about a Kickstarter. I am genuinely excited about this Kickstarter. I love Marvel. I love Marvel United. Grew up as a huge X-Men fan. Got into the Avengers more later on in the early 2000s when during like the New Avengers era and going into Civil War and stuff like that. And I've gone back and read a few different Avengers stories from earlier time periods. But um, yeah, like I'm not saying this is game is a deal breaker. It's multiverse. I will probably spoiler alert. I probably will be getting this as an all-in pledge. But this is just me kind of going over things that are concerning about the way they're formatting it. And we'll get to the end of it, I'm going to kind of talk about how I feel like this Kickstarter should have gone, and some things even in the last Kickstarter that I think should have been altered. Again, talking about different timelines, we have expansions in this game already that are kind of exploring alternate characters, alternate futures, time travel, that kind of stuff. We do have the X-Force box with Strife and Cable, future versions of characters. But again, this kind of box isn't the problem to me, especially with what some people are requesting. Looking at the Facebook page and a little bit on Twitter, but more on the Facebook groups for Marvel United. I know one of the things that is requested is stuff like adding Marvel Zombies or Age of Apocalypse is another big one. Adding Ultimate Marvel into the mix is a big one. Again, with the Spider-Verse box here, we have Miles Morales, who is the second Spider-Man from the Ultimate Universe. They started with the younger version of Peter Parker. Things happened, and then Miles became Spider-Man in that reality, and then got transferred during the Secret War storyline into the main Marvel Universe. So he arguably is the biggest draw from the Ultimate Universe in this game. We also have the Samuel L. Jackson inspired Nick Fury in the Kickstarter box, stretch goal box. Arguably, that character, if you actually go back through and read the Ultimates comic series, you know that version of the character was influenced greatly by Samuel L. Jackson, even years before the Marvel movies came out. So you could almost argue that version in the stretch goal box is most likely either based off of Samuel L. Jackson's MCU character or based off the Ultimates from the Ultimate line, Ultimate Comics line. But again, those are probably the two or the biggest draws for being in Marvel United from the Ultimate Universe that don't have a pretty close equivalent in the Marvel United already. Again, going back, a lot of people have said that Age of Apocalypse would be great. We technically already have an Apocalypse box. I know this is not the Age of Apocalypse version of the character, and it's not the Four Horsemen from that storyline, but even trying to think who the Horsemen are in that storyline. There's um, one of those characters, Sinister, is already in the game. You may not need to do a Horseman version of him. There's 3 other Horsemen in that would be unique for this campaign. However, again, if you're going to incorporate a reality like Age of Apocalypse, which is so massive and so storyline is so beloved by a lot of people, what do you put in the game from that storyline that people are going to be like, oh, this is enough? Like, do you just put one expansion? Do you give a couple of the stretch goals? Arguably about 100 different characters that are going to be in the stretch goals alone. Not 100 different characters. There's 100 different characters in the game. like 60 or so characters in the game that are just going to be in the stretch goals. How many of those do you divvy off to Age of Apocalypse? How many of those do you divvy off of the Ultimate Marvel, or um, uh, more from Days of Future Past? You throw in Heroes Reborn. Do you go deep dive into MC2? Do you just take from the T'Challa as Star Lord and other aspects from the Marvel What If TV series? Do you go in and take a bunch of stuff, random deep cuts from the 70s and 80s What If series? Like, these are some of the questions. I'm not saying they're concerns. There's a little concerning, but these are kind of the questions I'm wondering, and will hopefully be answered soon. As of where do you, what do you take as far as, especially from big storylines where people are going to be satisfied with the amount of content from that storyline that could potentially be gotten. Um, so, like I said, like Age of Apocalypse, we have an Apocalypse box, and again, we talked about Marvel Zombies a little bit earlier, but this is the Heroes Resistance box from Marvel Zombies that was bought on. I bought this one from Amazon, but backers are already getting the core box from the main Kickstarter, and Wave 2 shipping is going to be later on in the year. Again, what zombie characters do you throw into Marvel United from Multiverse that you're going to say, oh, I got Zombie Cap, Zombie Iron Man, Zombie Giant Man. I'm good. I'm good with that. I got my Zombie Spider Man. Probably won't be a Zombie Spider Man. There wasn't one in here. But again, what characters do you put in there that you're like, this is enough. This is what we got. So again, I love the fact that we're getting a Multiverse box. I'm very curious to see what figures we're getting, what characters we're getting, what new game modes we're going to get from that. Just a little worried of too much of a single character. Back during the original Marvel United X-Men campaign, we have in the main box here, we've got Wolverine. Wolverine's great. He has a cool. They gave him. He was one of the few characters that had had one of the starting cards that was always in his hand for the healing factor, I believe, and it was great having Wolverine in the core box. Then in stretch goals, we got Wolverine in his Weapon X, just wearing the helmet and the underwear. So we had two Wolverines right away. Then at some point, I don't remember what it's attached to, but we have Old Man Logan Wolverine, which, I don't know what else you're going to get from Old Man Logan storyline. There's Old Man Hawkeye, there's a bunch of hillbilly Hulks running around, so that could be a Hulk villain for the game. But again, third Wolverine right here. And then they decided to come out with the Days of Future Past box, which again is an alternate reality, would be a good candidate for Multiverse, but we already have the Wolverine in here. And if I remember correctly, a lot of that storyline took place in the present, changing from the movie. The movie had Wolverine coming back in time. I believe the comic had Shadowcat coming back in time, which again, we have a Shadowcat figure already. So do you do a Shadowcat where she's possessing people? I don't know. It'd be a cool if the characters come out and they have different enough mechanics from their original counterpart. Great, awesome. I would love that, and I would be more than happy to throw all the money at this game if they do that. But again, it's going to be, and we're not going to see a lot of the cards when even in the Kickstarter. We're not going to see what their abilities are and whatnot until we get the game in hand. So that's kind of, again, the risk you run, is that we're not going to know how different the characters are necessarily going to play. I'm sure they're going to talk about it. They're going to CMON in the past has had like the Friday roundup videos during the campaign, so I'm sure they're going to talk about stuff like that. The write-ups, I'm sure, will have some little information about that kind of stuff. So, I'm not too worried, but again, going with concerns here. Then the other thing with this campaign that I know a lot of fans are going to want to have addressed is missing characters. The perception of missing characters from the first two campaigns. We're getting, again, Marvel Multiverse, But who are you going to get from 616 or whatever universe this all takes place in? Because these are not 616 characters necessarily. These are not as much. Definitely more MCU inspired over here. Definitely more comic inspired over here. From the MCU, we have characters like, I'm gonna grab my notebook here because I keep looking over here, and you all are probably wondering why. But like from recent shows and movies, we've got Kate Bishop, you've got Yelena from Black Widow, Sylvie from the Loki series, White Vision from WandaVision, a villainous Wanda. We already have one technically in the game, but she's paired with like an evil version of Quicksilver in the First Class box, and it is a very early Uncanny X-Men, pre-Avengers style Wanda in there. Technically, it's the costume she wore when she was in the Avengers. But we have that. U.S. agent from the movie is not in the game. That would give us a third Captain America alt in the game. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if was it the TVA from Loki plays some kind of role in this game, either as I cannot remember the character's name. It's the Owen Wilson character, but either playing as his, I would assume, comic counterpart, or have that as its own game mode where you are somehow chasing after a fugitive from the TVA kind of thing. That'd be an interesting mechanic. I don't know how they'd pull it off, but it'd be pretty cool if they did that. Those again are some characters from the movies that most likely will make a appearance in this game. It would be interesting to grab some of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters. Phil Coulson's not in the game. Throwing Quake in the game would be cool. Just a lot of stuff like that. Also, again, from the Avengers side, we're missing quite a few heroes from the comic books. We've got Hercules, we're still missing. Black Knight, we're still missing. Wonder Man, Spectrum, probably tie into the Marvels movie coming out. Star Fox. I would love to get a Giant Man version of Hank Pym. We already have the Scott Lang version in the main game here that was kind of thrown in late. It was originally a stretch goal that they decided to throw in the core box. But we got the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man. It'd be interesting to get maybe an oversized version of Hank Pym as Giant Man, or even still call it Ant-Man, but have it as a giant figure in that one. Or kind of a giant mechanic. It'd be kind of cool for that. Similar to the Marvel Crisis Protocol with Wasp and Ant-Man, where they have like another figure where it shows the shrinking and whatnot. So I would think that would actually be kind of cool. On the X-Men side, which is my favorite side of this, there are quite a few members of like X Factor is missing random. X Force is missing Richter and Siren. Excalibur is missing Megan. Alpha Flight, I know, is missing a few characters. I think Aurora's missing from that team. Again, these are all groups that were primarily in the stretch goal box. But even after the campaign was over, somehow we got Dupe, and Pixie's okay, but somehow we got Dupe over long-standing characters, and then bringing in Dupe. No, it's not my favorite comic series. We're missing all of the Ecstatics characters. I know they're probably more on the edgier side that they want to do for a family game. Kind of agree. Dupe has been more of a really should turn my ringer off my phone. Keep forgetting to do that when I film these. Dupe kind of got more pulled into the X-Men later on down the road, so it's probably why he got the pass to be in the game. So those characters are missing. My personal biggest gripe is that there were no members other than Jubilee, Banshee, and White Queen. There were no members of Generation X in the game at all. Even some characters like M, who have gone up and lifted to the status of being full-on X-Men. I know some of the Generation X kids have been dead for some time, but Chamber wasn't in the game, M wasn't in the game, Sync wasn't in the game, Husk wasn't in the game. She would have some cool powers and abilities in the game. So again, a lot of missing characters. I'm not even going to go. I have a little paragraph right here. We have there's probably a ton of villains that we do not have in this game from both the Avengers side and the X-Men side that would definitely earn their place in this game. With that said, some things I would kind of like to see from Marvel United Multiverse, besides the multiverse characters we've already talked about, a couple things on my personal wish list that I would love to get. One, again, a lot of this is going to be 616 era too, but one, we've got the Tales of Asgard box right here. I would love, this is definitely MCU based. This is definitely based off of Thor Ragnarok, the movie. We have Thor, Korg, Valkyrie, who is definitely the MCU Valkyrie and not the comic book Valkyrie necessarily. And then the one definitive comic book character, Beta Ray Bill, who is not in the MCU. And then, of course, the villainous Loki from Avengers and Thor movies and whatnot. I would honestly love to see, especially because I've been playing a lot of Marvel Snap, and I have one of these characters in one of my primary decks. But I would love to see a box expanding the Asgard characters with Lady Sif and the Warriors 3. Throw Malekith in there as the villain. I think that would be a great box to add into this. May not get this. I would almost, as much as I would love a box for it, I think that would be more like stretch goal characters at some point down the road. But that would be one box I'd like to see. Also, two other aspects, MCU related in one case, especially MCU related in one case, that this game is missing that I'm hoping are part of this, either as stretch goals or as their own box. But the Eternals is something I would look forward to in this game. They have a movie, debatable on the success of it. I, you know, enjoyed it to a point, so it would be cool to see the Eternals in the movie, as well as I know Black Bolt kind of got shafted in the Multiverse of Madness movie, but the Inhumans, bringing them into the game, again, this is more for me. I'm thinking of like Marvel Cosmic stuff, but we know we're getting Immortus and we know we're getting Galactus, so throwing in some more cosmic stuff to fill in the gap. It would also, in my mind, be awesome to have Annihilation thrown in here. That storyline kind of introduced the modern Guardians of the Galaxy into the game, so it would be cool if those characters, Annihilus and characters related to that storyline, came into the game. Almost like throwing a swarm mechanic or something like that into the game would be pretty awesome. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, I personally, because I had, I think all but like the first couple issues of it, almost complete run. But it'd be cool if the original OG 30th century 90s Guardians of the Galaxy were in the game. That would be, again, another cool box. I don't know who you would throw in as the villain in there, so that would probably be more of like stretch goals kind of thing. And again, with some of the characters like that, a lot of people thought it was always funny to me looking at Facebook comments for Marvel United X-Men and people saying like how they had no clue who any of the X-Men characters were. I knew every single one, like especially the first half of that campaign. I was so flippin' excited for all the X-Force characters, all the 90s X-Force characters, all the 90s X-Factor characters. A little miff that Havoc wasn't in his 90s X-Force costume, that they used the 80s costume, but it is what it is. The other thing I would love to see in Marvel United Multiverse, as some kind of add-on, two things I would like to see is some kind of add-on later on in the game, not necessarily part of the campaign, but you can add them on later. First of all, the convention exclusive Hero, Juggernaut, and the Grey Hulk variant. I would love to see them add the cards in as some kind of add-on, and maybe even an alternate sculpt for them. With most people painting their figures, you really don't need to have an alternate sculpt with for Juggernaut necessarily. You can almost treat it like it's a anti-hero character, because you're going to paint it up anyway. You can use it for whichever side you want. Grey Hulk, probably want to have that in its own figure almost, but it would be cool if they had that some kind of an add-on to get the figures, get the and get the cards, almost separate them. Probably be confusing for some people, but almost separate them so that way people who already got them from the conventions didn't have to rebuy them. So basically making the cards and the figures separately. The other thing, speaking with cards, that I would love for them to do is do some kind of an upgrade. Now I know they're probably not, because in their teases for the core box for Marvel United Multiverse, they already said one of the heroes is only going to have 3 special cards. But I would love for them to upgrade some of the OG Marvel United characters. They all of them minimum had 3 special power cards, special ability cards. Some of the characters in the stretch goal box had more. But the X-Men one, they definitively had it as they had 4 special ability cards, whereas in this one they only had 3. So it'd be cool if they put in a card that you can buy a card pack, and it says, "Hey, replace this one card with this card, and you're good to go." But yeah, if something like a document or something like that that you can reference and use, that will allow you to just know which cards to swap out. Renegade Games does this with the Power Rangers every so often. Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, again, another favorite game of mine that I don't get to play nearly enough. When that Kickstarter came out and everyone got their Kickstarter boxes, we all basically realized that White Ranger Tommy did not have any defense shields on any of his cards. It's kind of how they determine health in that game if you've never played it. They just weren't printed on the card. The developer put on the Facebook page the breakdown of how those cards, what shields need, how many shields needed to be on each card. And then when they released, they realized a couple other cards needed to be fixed, so they were able to come out with a whole pack of cards to send to people to basically upgrade the cards. They were already working on that legendary Tommy Oliver pack anyway, so you got new cards from that as well. In one of their recent, not Kickstarters, but one of their recent campaigns, they added on an errata pack where you basically, they sent new cards to either alter other cards or replace cards outright. And then there was another Kickstarter giveaway that while they were printing all this other stuff, they decided to change, I think, Rita and Pudgy Pig. I don't remember what pack that came from, but again, you could easily do that. I'm not talking about like a full deck of cards for changing the entire deck, but like if they could find some way to like change or alter one card to add in another special power. I saw it in another reaction video, but Captain America needs to be able to throw his mighty shield. That's all I'm going to say. Something to give those characters just one more card to fully give that more thematic feel to those characters, not just like with leadership abilities, but something that can make it feel more like I'm playing Captain America or any of the other characters, and make them a little more beefy and put them on par power wise with the X-Men. One of the things I wish that this game would have been, as again, I'm very happy with the multiverse aspect, but one of the other things I wish this game would have been would just been adding in the cosmic stuff and filling in the holes for the non-cosmic stuff. Actually, one of the things I thought about, and a lot of people thought too, was when they brought this box in at the end of the Kickstarter, or toward the end of the Kickstarter, they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, here's the Fantastic Four. We're adding them in." And this box is cool. I really like this box. I feel, and it's also coming open too, how I have it stacked. I feel like this box would have been the perfect box to be a core. Even looking at the figures in here, it's only a couple figures off from being a core box, essentially. You could have thrown Mole Man in here and trying to think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'd still be like 2 or 3 figures short, but you could have thrown Mole Man in here. You could throw Herbie in here. My gosh, they could have thrown Herbie in here. But this would have been a great box to do as a core box, and then built the Marvel Cosmic stuff around it. And I knew a lot of people were thinking season 3 wasn't going to come because this has Silver Surfer in it. So it kind of negated Galactus being in the game because Silver Surfer is the herald of Galactus. The Galactus figure in Marvel Zombies is coming with the Silver Surfer, both the hero, both the living and the undead version. So I'm wondering what this new Galactus is going to have with it, since we already have a Silver Surfer, and are we going to get either another Herald, or are we going to get an alternate Silver Surfer character? Um, Again, this kind of goes into that whole thing I was talking about earlier of we already have aspects of the multiverse in the game already. So what new things are you going to throw in? I'm very excited to find out what those new things would have been. But again, I would have loved for this to have been the core, and for Annihilation and Galactus and various other cosmic things being in the game. Now they might be doing that. The Cosmic Ghost Rider is in the game. Mortis is in the game. Um, we have alternate timelines with another Spider-Man 2099 in the game. So if we're getting a blatant second Spider-Man 2099, we might be getting a blatant second Silver Surfer. And realizing as I'm talking that if Galactus is the villain, there probably will be either something like the Thanos box where you would fight them one at a time, or something similar to the Apocalypse box where I think you fight all the Horsemen at once, or at least in one game. There probably, now that I'm thinking about it, there will probably be a Silver Surfer villain that comes with Galactus, as like he is the herald, like the characters had to fight him as like a first wave thing with Galactus, or have it tied Silver Surfer's abilities tied in with Galactus kind of thing while you're fighting him, or you can't fight Galactus until the Surfer is defeated. I just got very excited for the Galactus box now I'm thinking about it. So yeah, most likely I'm going to call it right now. My prediction is that we are going to get a villainous Silver Surfer. So yeah, that would be pretty cool if that is true. But I have rambled on enough. Again, I just want to make it very clear, though I have concerns, not nearly as many concerns as I have with X-Men. X-Men, all in for the entire time. The only box I was iffy about the Gold Team, Blue Team box, just because I didn't really think you needed 2 expansions with almost the exact same content. And I know a lot of people were wanting those characters to be more stretch goals, so they didn't have to buy to get basically all the X-Men. You didn't have to buy expansion boxes, and that those could have pushed along stretch goals. But again, I'm very happy. Again, I read Uncanny X-Men and X-Men exclusively as a kid in the mid to late 90s. So having the X-Men blue and gold teams as the, for lack of a better term, most complete team, or totally complete team in that campaign is great. The only other box I was a little, that I had a dupe size feelings about was the Phoenix 5 box. I wasn't really a big fan of Avengers versus X-Men as a storyline. So though mechanically, I like the fact of defeating one member of the 5, and then those abilities go to the next member, and then defeating that one, and basically stacking up until you get to the 5th one. You're fighting this ultra powerful boss, and it can change every time because any of the 5 can be the ultra powerful boss. Mechanically, I think it's a great expansion. Thematically, I'm a little whatever about it. I know it's sacrilegious to say, but Deadpool wasn't the biggest draw for me. I got the box; it's over there on the shelf. But yeah, it's I have more concerns about this season Kickstarter than the other 2, but that's not to say that unless something is blatantly egregious with the way they handle this Kickstarter, and I'm not talking about shipping, but unless something is just off the rails, or it's just way too many alts or something like that, I will probably be all in on this Kickstarter, and I've already warned my wife about that. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on Marvel United, Multiverse, talking about regular United, talking about X-Men. But I want to hear from you guys. If you guys want to comment in the comment section, I lost my train of thought for a second. If you guys want to leave a comment about what you're excited or concerned about with Marvel United, what you're looking forward to, what you're not looking forward to, please let me know. We are launching this channel, so not expecting that many big comments in the comment section, but if you're new to the channel, please comment on this. I will attempt, having a day job and all that, I will attempt to cover this the new Kickstarter while it's live. Doing a couple random videos about it. Not something I'm gonna do with a lot of Kickstarters, honest, but this, and if they ever did another Kickstarter with stretch goals for Power Rangers, probably two big games, just because of those are two major franchises from my childhood. I'm very excited about these games, and yeah, and it's probably, for me, with starting this channel, the easiest kind of video to kind of get into covering Kickstarter stuff is following these Kickstarters that I'm very familiar with already, while I'm kind of feeling out how I want this channel to run. So if you are enjoying the content and you'd like to take that journey with me, please make sure to hit that bell, sign up for notifications, like this video and any other videos that you see, and subscribe to the channel. And I'd like to thank you guys for sticking around this long, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.